This state of emergency and curfew must come to an end. And rest assured, when that time comes, the trade union movement will be back on the streets in the spirit of George Weeks, Uriah Butler, Adrian Cola Rienzi. All workers must be part of this massive Unite to Fight campaign in the interest of themselves and for the benefit of future generations.
Look out for the trade union leadership on September 1st. That was a paid announcement.
It's unfortunate what we love. We're the greatest night riders. Put your hands up on your heart and sing. Playing 40K wins everything. Together we play, we fight, and we win. We tougher than everybody else. You know we are the kings by ourselves. RX we ready, rough and we ready. Put up on your hands, TKR family. Put up your hand, TKR family, and support your team in the Hero CPL 2021. And this year we're using the hashtag We Are TKR.
This is I-95.5's Who the Cap Fit.
Who the cap fit? Let them wear it.
Nearly all men can stand adversity. But if you want to test a man's character, give him power. Abraham Lincoln.
Who the cap fit? Let them wear it.
Hello world. Hello world. This is www.i955fm.com, Trinidad.
This Sunday on episode 35 of Ion Dependency.
This Sunday, join Garth and Natasha for an independence special filled with pomp and pageantry. First, we take a trip down memory lane.
It is the third anniversary of the independence of Trinidad and Tobago.
Then, we hear greetings from senior officials and heads of divisions. Plus, we revisit the first Independence Day parade for Her Excellency Paula May Weeks as Commander-in-Chief. Stay for the vintage display from the fire service, as well as drill and musical features from various arms of the protective service. And at 8:30 p.m., switch to TV6 or from 8:45 p.m. on YouTube for episode 5 of the Eye on Health TV series featuring cancer survivor Daria Marcel. Don't miss this special edition of Eye on Dependency. Listen live on I-95.5 FM from 6:15 p.m. and watch live on the Eye on Dependency Facebook page or YouTube channel. Eye on Dependency. We don't just share stories, we change lives.
This is Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha, Sundays at 6:15 p.m. on the most influential name in radio, I-95.5 FM.
People only talking, but they really don't know what the proper meaning for Trinidad and Tobago. Cipriani start the ball rolling, now the doctor doing the bowling, so that we help Uncle Eric to perform a real hat trick, because this is your land, just as well as my land. This is your place, and also it's my place. So let we put our heads together and live like one happy family. Democratically, educationally, we'll be independently.
Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago, and welcome to Independency. Good evening, Natasha.
Good evening, guys. Good evening, Trinidad and Tobago, and happy Independence to you. Welcome if you're joining us on I-95.5 FM or on our Facebook page or our YouTube channel.
Correct. And this evening, we are not wasting time this evening. We have a lot for you this evening.
Yes.
And it's going to be both entertaining and educational at the same time. We welcome all of you. And let's go straight to this feature here, courtesy the Ministry of National Security Communications Unit and the TTPS AV Unit, as the AV Unit of Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, the coat of arms of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. What it means, how it's supposed to be treated and respected. Let's go to that feature right now. We'll be back.
Our national flag belongs to all of us. Our national coat of arms with our national buds inscribed therein is the sacred trust of all our citizens. So it is today. Please, I urge you, let it always be so.
As part of this country's transition from colonialism to independence in 1962, the government, through its Independence Committee, designed and selected a number of key identifiable emblems that have been used to enhance Trinidad and Tobago's identity. Our national emblems reflect the history, values, culture, and vision of our nation.
Our national flag belongs to all of us. Our national coat of arms with our national buds inscribed therein is the sacred trust of all our citizens. So it is today. Please, I urge you, let it always be so.
As part of this country's transition from colonialism to independence in 1962, the government, through its Independence Committee, designed and selected a number of key identifiable emblems that have been used to enhance Trinidad and Tobago's identity. Our national emblems reflect the history, values, culture, and vision of our nation. They are sacred and should be duly respected. With this in consideration, the Ministry of National Security encourages citizens to cherish and to hold our national symbols to the highest esteem. TNT's national symbols include the national flag, the coat of arms, and the double Chaconia flower. A coat of arms is traditionally unique to an individual person, family, state, organization, or corporation, and is a heraldic visual design on a shield, shawcoat, or tabard. The coat of arms of Trinidad and Tobago was designed in 1962 by a designated committee including noted artist Carlisle Chang and carnival designer George Bailey. TNT's coat of arms forms the central element of the full heraldic achievement and incorporates important historical and indigenous elements of Trinidad and Tobago. They are the shield, the helm of special design, the mantle which covers the hem, the wreath to hold the mantle in place, the crest, the supports, and the motto. The coat of arms is used on all communication material within the government sector as a means of building a consistent identity. Every government agency charged with the privilege of using the nation's coat of arms is responsible for complying with the guidelines for its usage and will be held accountable for any such breaches. Here is what you need to know about displaying Trinidad and Tobago's coat of arms. All representations of the coat of arms must adhere to a 5mm clearance space on all sides, and no design elements are permitted within the 5mm region. The minimum size for presenting the coat of arms of Trinidad and Tobago is 20mm by 20mm. When using it in stack alignment, you must adhere to a 5mm clearance space around the coat of arms. You should observe a 5mm clearance space around the coat of arms when using a strip alignment. Embossed, engraved, and foil presentations of the coat of arms of Trinidad and Tobago are permitted. The coat of arms of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago can stand alone when it is used at its minimum size, such as on business cards and miniature promotional items, and for embossed, foil, or engraved presentations. The coat of arms should always be placed against a white background. In instances where the coat of arms appears against a colored background, for example on printed material, it must appear in full color and The fonts Ariel and Lucidia Bright are the two main fonts to be used with the coat of arms in printed material. For more guidelines on the usage of our national emblems, please read the National Emblems of Trinidad and Tobago Regulation Chapter 1904 of the Laws of Trinidad and Tobago and the National Identity Guidelines of Trinidad and Tobago. Both documents can be viewed by visiting the National Archives of Trinidad and Tobago under the National Guidelines on the Usage of the National Emblems Act,
This is reality radio at its best. Eye on Dependency on I-95.5 FM.
I suffer with demyelinating neuropathy. What that is nerve damage. And you know, your nerves end in your fingers and your toes. So, my feet are like if they're in hot coals. A cold pot with hot coals, 24/7. That will ever stop.
Don't miss episode 5 of Eye on Health on Cancers in Men this Sunday from 8:30 p.m. on TV6 and 8:45 p.m. on the Eye on Dependency YouTube channel.
Thank you for calling the Counter-Trafficking Unit of Trinidad and Tobago. How may I help you?
The Trinidad and Tobago's Counter-Trafficking Unit, also called the CTU, was established through an Act of Parliament, the Trafficking in Persons Act, Chapter 1210, or the TIPS Act. We are a specialized, multidimensional, civilian-led agency under the Ministry of National Security, responsible for the daily operations of the counter-trafficking response of the government of Trinidad and Tobago. We implement government policies developed by the National Task Force Against Trafficking in Persons, effective identification of victims and witnesses, prevention of trafficking, protection and prosecution, all through effective partnerships. We also operate a toll-free anonymous hotline, 800-4288 for CTU, where the public can report possible cases of human trafficking. We screen and interview persons to identify possible victims of trafficking. We refer identified victims to appropriate agencies for support and care. Specially trained, positively vetted police officers working in the CTU gather evidence, investigate, and prosecute human trafficking cases. In keeping with our public education mandate, we also deliver training to our many stakeholders and partners. We collaborate with local, regional, and international organizations, NGOs, churches, and faith-based organizations to educate and warn the public on how to recognize human trafficking. We are the Counter-Trafficking Unit of the Ministry of National Security, Trinidad and Tobago, safeguarding human life.
Mava, and you listen to Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha on I-95.5 FM, Trinidad and Tobago. Don't be a fool and be a mule. I'm Mava, and you listen to Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha on I-95.5 FM, Trinidad and Tobago. Don't be a fool and be a mule.
Now is the time to rebuild. Make up your mind to climb the hill. It's reconstruction time in Trinidad, so put your shoulder to the wheel, man, lad, move on, don't stop till you reach the top. You put a hand and I put a hand and we will see. For big and for small in no time at all, prosperity. There's no other way to do it. Show your patriotic spirit, unity. Somehow, if Trinidad ever needed you, it's now.
Right, thank you for staying with us, folks. And as we said, we have a tightly packed program for you this evening, both educational and entertaining.
Indeed, and we have to thank all of the protective services who are going to be on display this evening. You're going to see something from each of them, and we thank them for their contribution to today's Independence Parade in quotation marks.
Right. So what we have done, folks, we put together a group of like-minded individuals who will want to wish you happy independence. You know, you're not having a parade this year, so we decided, look, let's bring a parade to you. So that's what you'll be seeing later on. However, we'll start with greetings from the president of the Trinidad and Tobago Armed Forces Veterans Association, and then we will give you a brief peek of the third Independence Parade that happened here in Trinidad, right here in Trinidad and Tobago. It's really funny to see even the vehicles back then. But I'm sure some of you who even would have served in the forces or still serving probably would have been in that Independence Parade, you think?
Yes, possibly. Possibly.
Right, and then you'll hear from the director of the Specialized Youth Service Program, Major Benjamin.
So all of you CCC trainees locked on.
Yes,
Stay tuned
so
for that.
your program director will be on in a while, and then we will return with the Chief Fire Officer, Arnold Bristow, Prisons Commissioner Dennis Polchan, TTPS, and you'll get some history on the canons at the St. James Academy. And then Police Commissioner Gary Griffith, Acting Police Commissioner Gary Griffith will send his greetings to you. And then we have a brief peek of in the absence of contributions from the Defense Force, we'll still show you a drill competition won by the Coast Guard unit a couple of years back. This was in 2010, sorry. And then you'll hear from Honorable Minister Fitzgerald Hines, who is the most senior in the lineup today. And after that, we go to the Independence Parade, that the first Parade of Excellency officiated over as Commander-in-Chief. And so second, sorry. And yes, and we will show you that parade. Just for a little nostalgia, those of you who would have attended parades every year religiously, this is the first time you're going to see a parade from this angle, because you're not going to a parade this year, so you may see yourself in the audience. And then we'll have another video on the national flag and a vintage display from the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service. Folks really came through for us in this one. And number one, I must say, you must give credit where it's due.
Yes.
And from the time, Leon Graves, I told Leon Graves what I was going to do. He hooked me up with some numbers, and folks, I didn't even know the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service was part of the police service until 1951 when they were separated. And so that was, some news to me. And so you're going to see some vehicles from back then, some photos from back then with the fire service. They sent us a whole heap of photos. And then we will go out with the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force Steel Orchestra when they performed in Germany. And that's a sight to behold with my boy Sobo as the mace man in front of the band. Sobo, you really enjoyed yourself. I could see that. So we will chip out with that. Right? So without further ado, let's go to the first greeting from the president of the Trinidad and Tobago Armed Forces Veterans Association, Mr. Melan Garcia.
To my fellow citizens, please allow me to begin by saying that God is good all the time, and all the time, God is good. 59 years of independence is worth celebrating. We are better than many countries which are overwhelmed by wars, floods, major fires, earthquakes, and all sorts of disasters. We are not living in a perfect world, but let us be thankful for the blessings God has bestowed on us thus far. Shakespeare once said, and I quote, "I cried when I had no shoes, but I stopped crying when I saw a man without legs." Unquote. Life is full of blessings. Sometimes we do not value it. As human beings, we have choices. In Trinidad and Tobago, we know that only too well. So oftentimes, we abuse the power. Let us value our freedom and let us guard it jealously. We are a resilient people. collectively, we can ensure that our nation be a model state. And we can become leaders rather than followers. As we celebrate our 59th independent anniversary and begin to work towards our milestone 60th anniversary as an independent nation, let us be positive. Let us make every day the best day of our lives. Let me now take this opportunity on behalf of the members of the Trinidad and Tobago Armed Forces Veterans Association, on my own behalf and that of my family, to extend independence greetings to the people of this blessed Twin Island state of Trinidad and Tobago on this, our 59th anniversary of our independence. May God continue to richly bless our nation.
President of the Trinidad and Tobago Armed Forces Veterans Association. So up next
is, we're going back in time here now. This is 1965. This would have been the third Independence Day parade in Trinidad and Tobago. So vintage footage, vintage everything in this clip. I hope you enjoy it.
all you youngsters, excuse me, all you youngsters who are listening right now and viewing, I want you to look where we came from. You know, we came a long way. If you watch the vehicles now and then the vehicles that you see in the Independence Parade, far different. So let's go to that, and you will see, of course, who was the Governor General of Trinidad and Tobago at the time on horseback during that parade. Yes. So let's go to that.
It is the third anniversary of the independence of Trinidad and Tobago. From Independence Square, the Independence Youth Parade is well underway, and the Trinidad and Tobago Cadet Force headed this parade of the country's youth. All youth groups throughout Trinidad and Tobago were represented in this nationwide show of 10 parades located in their respective districts and counties. This proud showing of our nation's youth would not have been possible without the help and direction of the National Youth Conference and the Ministry of Community Development. The parade of young people, indicative of the several national and semi-national organizations in the country, points the way to a new national awakening and a higher sense of discipline, tolerance, and production. Trinidad and Tobago's youth have established their claim to their country's independence. Here there is no lack of responsibility, no lack of maturity, a show of civic pride and national character. Councillor Edward Taylor, Mayor of Trinidad and Tobago's capital city, takes the salute at Port-of-Spain's Town Hall. In his address, Councillor Taylor reminded the youth that they could not accomplish respect of themselves, let alone others, by failing to give just due to those from whom they demand the full measure of reward. At another public parade, this time in the Queen's Park Savannah, the military and voluntary uniformed services of Trinidad and Tobago continue the third independence anniversary celebrations. Trinidad's Queen's Park Savannah, traditional site of many of the nation's official ceremonies, has a history dating back well over 150 years. And today, on its broad acres, 199 of them, this new nation of Trinidad and Tobago enters the fourth year of independence, and the picture is far from gloomy. The Governor General, Sir Solomon Hochoy, Her Majesty's representative in Trinidad and Tobago, inspects the parade. The parade was divided into two contingents. This one, the armed contingent, consisted of members of the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Forces. The Defense Force came into being with Trinidad and Tobago's independence, and they are an indication of our determination to support all efforts for the achievement of lasting world peace. Forming part of the armed contingent as well was a company of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. A traditional feature of all such official celebrations, the police service is a well-trained and highly disciplined guardian of internal security. The unarmed contingent of the parade consisted of members of the Women's Police Force, the Special Reserve Police, and the Police Dog Section, amongst others. Trinidad and Tobago has received the warmest congratulations and good wishes from a host of other nations. In the 3 years of our independence, this nation has established a place in the world's international councils. The parade comes to an end. 3 years after the flag-raising ceremony of independence, the start of the 4th year, in which together we aspire, together we achieve.
Wow. Did you all see the fire truck and the police cars?
If you're just joining us, you listen to Independency, and welcome to the Independence Day special, pre-Independence Day special. Yeah, again, you want to view what we have to show you, you could join us on YouTube or Facebook. You know, this is the first time you could actually watch a parade on radio. But technology affords us this now, so the radio audience, you can actually put your YouTube up on your television, you know, so that you can see the parade in big. You know what I mean? So, right. So let's go to the greeting now from the Director of the Specialized Youth Service Program, Major David Benjamin.
I am Major David Benjamin, the Director of the Specialized Youth Service Programs of the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force. Greetings and happy 59th Independence to the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago on behalf of the Civilian Conservation Corps, CCC, and the MILAD program, Military-Led Academic Training Program, parts of the Specialized Youth Service Programs of the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force, managed by the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service. Youth development work is a positive investment in the future of our country. This has to be planned and managed effectively. For the past 40 years, the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force has always been involved in different spheres of youth development, having graduated over 28,000 trainees from the CCC program and over 1,000 from the MILAD program. We are deeply invested in the future of the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago. As successful citizens in all spheres of development make for a great nation. In the words of John F. Kennedy, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. These very powerful and profound words not only speak towards national development, but also engage all citizens in a positive effort towards a better Trinidad and Tobago. Once again, happy independence to you all, and may Almighty God bless you richly. Thank you.
And that was the Director, Specialized Youth Service Program, Major David Benjamin.
Yes.
And to all you trainees, that was your major.
Mhm.
Just sending you greetings, and again from us too as well. Happy Independence. So let's go to that quick break. And when we return, we have Chief High Officer, Prisons Commissioner, Commissioner Griffith, and
And a little bit of drill from the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard.
and you're going to get some history about the cannons. For those of you who have ever been to the St. James Police Academy and you see some cannons in there, you're going to get some info on that. This is courtesy the TTPS AV unit, and of course, on the Joint Services Network page, YouTube channel, you can find more of this information. They have a lot of information there, but we'll talk about that when we get back. Stay right here.
You're listening to Eye on Dependency with Garth and Natasha. Reality radio at its best.
Some of us like to play games of chance, but remember, gaming should be fun, so don't get carried away. Play for a prize, but don't pay the price. Play for fun, but never for keeps. Play smart, but never play all. Winning isn't everything. If you or someone you know needs help, call our gambling addiction hotlines. Rebirth House 24-hour hotline 466-3146 or Serenity Place Empowerment Center for Women 648-5401. An initiative of NLCB and Eye on Dependency.
I suffer with demyelinating neuropathy. What that is nerve damage. And your nerves end in your fingers and your toes. So my feet are like if they're in hot coals, a cold pot with hot coals, 24/7. That will never stop.
Don't miss episode 5 of Eye on Health on cancers in men this Sunday from 8:30 p.m. on TV6 and 8:45 p.m. on the Eye on Dependency YouTube channel.
A Trinity inmate at HMP Drake Hall, Staffordshire, England, and you're listening to Iron Dependency with Garth and Natasha. Please, people, don't traffic drugs. The money is all that nice. It's not worth it.
Now is the time to rebuild. Make up your mind to climb the hill. It's reconstruction time in Trinidad, so put your shoulder to the wheel, man, lad, move on, don't stop till you reach the top. You put a hand and I put a hand and we will see. For big and for small in no time at all, prosperity. There's no other way to do it. Show your patriotic spirit, unity. Somehow, if Trinidad ever needed you.
Thank you very much, folks. Thank you very much for staying with us, and welcome to all of you to Iron Dependency this evening, Independence Special. And coming up next, we'll have the Chief Fire Officer, and a lot of you don't know this gentleman because he just got there, and fire service hardly in the news. They're very quiet behind the scenes, but still watching our backs. So and remember this evening also at 8:30, don't forget Darian Marcel has his episodes coming up. We're dealing with cancers in men this evening. So all of you, please, it's a very informative, that session too, very informative on TV6 this evening from 8:30 or on our YouTube channel from 8:45 p.m. So let's go to the Chief Fire Officer, Mr. Arnold Bristow.
Greetings. I am Arnold Bristow, Chief Fire Officer of the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service. It is indeed a privilege to address our nation at this time, our 59th anniversary of independence. Traditionally, this day is marked with a grand display by all our protective services at our national parade. For many of you who witnessed these celebrations in the past, you would agree that the fire service was always a sight to behold. However, as the pandemic continues to affect our nation and the world at large, we are faced with the reality of not having our annual Independence Parade. As we continue to navigate these uncertain times, we must remember the importance of our safety practices to ensure the health and well-being of our loved ones. Furthermore, I urge the public to have a home evacuation plan with a clear escape route in the event of an emergency. Also, having a fire extinguisher close at hand to address any unplanned fires can reduce the risk of loss as a result of such fire. In closing, I take this opportunity on behalf of the uniform and non-uniform staff of the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service to wish you a happy independence, and may God continue to bless our nation. Thank you.
Bristow. He's the Chief Fire Officer. So we are glad and thankful again to the Fire Service for providing this message from your CFO. And now we move to the Commissioner of Prisons, Mr. Dennis Pulchan, who also has some greetings on this Independence Day occasion.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Dennis Pulchan, Commissioner of Prisons. August 31st is carved in the history of Trinidad and Tobago. This date serves as a reminder of when the very soul of our nation has awakened. It is the day in which we establish sovereignty, self-governance, when we abolish colonialism and advance towards social, economic, and political evolution. Our history is fused from an assortment of cultures, ethnicities, religions, and customs of our ancestors, which form the distinct identity that is Trinidad and Tobago today. As with every attempt at progress by a nation, there are challenges and conflicts. Trinidad and Tobago is not exempted from this adversity. Our resolve is being tested as we are but a small part of the world which is enduring a level of social decline, uncertainty, and instability brought on by the pandemic. However, Trinidad and Tobago is able to boast of many achievements as a nation because of our solidarity and resilience. The Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service, as a division of the national security, will continue to be steadfast in its resolve to ensure that our nation remains safe even as we are challenged. We have felt the effects of the adversities in more ways than one. We have adapted to the worldwide changes and will continue to do what is necessary to protect this great nation and its citizens. To the esteemed men and women of the Trinidad and Tobago Prison Service, as we celebrate this milestone, let us uphold and exhibit with pride the oath taken in service to our country. Like our great nation, you have shown your resilience time and time again. I sincerely thank you for your tireless efforts, sacrifice, and contributions in the maintenance of law, order, and public safety. To the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, I wish each and every one of you a blessed, safe, and enjoyable Independence anniversary. In the absence of our normal celebration this year, I implore you, take a moment to reflect on the sacrifices that were made and that we continue to make for this legacy to bear fruit today and in time to come. May God continue to bless, guide, keep, and comfort us all. Happy 59th anniversary of independence, Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Commissioner of Prisons, Mr. Dennis Pulchan.
Yes.
And thanks to well, we have some credits to give in a while, but ably assisted by Miss Melissa Alexander, Prison Officer 2 from the Comms Unit. They were, again, really on the ball, really on point, just as Fire and all. Very, very thank you. Thank you so much for showing us the love to contribute to this program this evening. So
now we go to a special feature from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, and this is about the Royal Cannons, which are located at the St. James Barracks, or the Academy as it is now known. Some interesting history on that, and then we'll go straight from that video to the message from the Acting Commissioner of Police, Mr. Gary Griffith.
Remember, if you're just joining us, you're listening to Independency. We have been an Independence special this evening, and you can also join us on YouTube or Facebook. Of course, coming up, we have the Independence Parade from 2019 to show you. So let's go to TTPS Royal Cannons Restoration.
Much like the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, the Police Academy, located along Salmon Drive, St. James, is undergoing a transformation. Built in 1824, the Police Academy stands as the oldest government building that remains in continuous use since its inception. Originally called the St. James Barracks, the Academy was built to house British troops, eventually becoming a convalescent hospital before taking its final form as a police training college in 1890. The Academy has recently received a minor facelift with the restoration of its royal cannons. Those familiar with the grounds may have noticed several cannons throughout the Academy, and while they may have seemed purely decorative, there was once a time that these weapons served a very real purpose for the then known TNT police force. At that time, the cannons were used to assist in training officers and, more evidently, provide additional protection to the barracks in the event of any uprising or attack. Although we can tell the years the royal cannons were built, there is very little evidence that tells us when they were brought to the Academy. The earliest known date of the creation of these cannons is 1801, with the newest of the lot being manufactured in 1820. This means the age of the cannons ranged from 199 years to 218 years. In total, there are 15 royal cannons located throughout the Academy's site, 2 of which bear the royal ciphers of King George III. There are also 2 other cannons with discernible ciphers of Queen Victoria. These are housed at the Commissioner's residence. Despite no longer being in actual use today, these cannons stand as a reminder of the TTPS's historical heritage. The restoration process took approximately 1 week and began with the removal of the cannons to a docking site in the Chaguaramas area. There, the cannons were sandblasted to remove rust, residual paint, and mildew. They were then repainted with black epoxy paint and sealed before finally being reinstalled at the Academy. While this sounds like a simple process, the technology and the technique used to restore these delicate artifacts was extremely intricate and expensive, coming with a price tag upwards of $200,000 TT dollars. Thankfully, the TTPS received this service free of charge, as it continues to garner support from the wider business community through its I Support Our Service campaign. After all, it's only fitting that the place where our officers are trained to protect and serve with pride will itself be protected, preserved, and serve as a source of national pride for generations to come.
Good evening. This is the second consecutive year that we as a country will not be celebrating our Independence Day as we had done in the past. Life has not been the same because of the COVID-19 virus. In 2020 and again this year, there will be no Independence Day celebrations where various detachments of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service would have been on public display. That included the men and women of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, the dogs, the horses, and the mechanical arm of the police service, to name a few. The COVID-19 virus has not spared TTPS. As I speak to you, 12 of our officers have died as a result of the virus. More than 4,300 have been quarantined at one time or the other. At this time, more than 100 officers are suffering from the virus. The men and women of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service have been on the front line since March 2020. Despite the deaths and the number of officers who contracted the virus, the men and women of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service remained resolute in their duties, ensuring a safe environment from the virus and the criminal elements. Despite the virus, we have managed to keep the levels of crime down, and we will continue to do so. We do not know how long the virus will remain with us, but I can assure you that we are prepared for the long haul. As your Commissioner of Police, I stand with the men and women of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service and say to them, stand tall. You have done your country proud. Happy Independence Day to the men and women of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, and happy independence to Trinidad and Tobago.
Thank you, sir, for your input in this evening's program. We have a 1-minute video to show of the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard winning their drill competition in 2010. But before that, I want to say hello to all the, especially CCT trainees who are joining us this evening. Boy Katanga out there in the Bronx, thank you for joining us. Keith Wolf, Jilks out there in Germany, thank you very much too for joining us. All of you who just joining us, you're listening to Independency. And remember, coming up next, we have greetings from the Minister of National Security, and then we go to that Independence Parade. So you still have time to get your popcorn and pull up that, if you want to pull up YouTube on your big screen TV, so you can see the parade in big. So let's go to that feature from the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard. Look at them boys winning the drill competition in 2010.
Heading north with what is known as commemorates.
Looking at here to your radio audience is we just looking at a display of the unit from the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard at when the drill competition that they had, where they're doing an arms drill. So they're using rifles and putting on quite a show. So this is just our treat for you for the 59th anniversary of our independence. Just a little special here this evening, and thank you very much for wanting to be part of it, and those of you who contributed to it so far. Thanks again. And coming up after this, we will, of course, we take a quick break, and then when we return, a message from the Minister of National Security, the Honorable Fitzgerald Hines. So that was Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard doing their thing. And they really mashed them up.
Let's take that break and come back with Minister Hines.
Welcome to the Trinidad and Tobago Cadet Force. Thank you very much for joining us. Let's go to that break. We'll be back.
This is reality radio at its best. Eye on Dependency on I-95.5 FM.
Morning. Listen now. Has noticed something out. Them new people are never be roady. Where's that? Yo, the man that he passing up and down in front of here with a set of woman. I really know there's some woman living there, you know. And they can't even say as much as good morning. Well, listen now. I wonder if it's human trafficking. You think is that?
So, how can you spot and identify perpetrators and victims of trafficking? Many victims are found living and working together in the same place and sleep in shared and inappropriate spaces. Victims work excessively long hours. They often sleep in the daytime and work long nights. They are often escorted everywhere they go and may appear to be malnourished. They may show signs of physical abuse, drug and alcohol use, and may also appear withdrawn, fearful, or intimidated. Victims who are migrants are often not in possession of their identity or immigration documents and have irregular immigration status. Perpetrators can be male or female and may appear to be managing or controlling the victims. And they may even at times appear to be the victim's best friend, boyfriend, or employer.
We are the counter-trafficking unit of the Ministry of National Security, Trinidad and Tobago, safeguarding human life.
Hi, I'm Danielle, and you're listening to Eye on Dependency, where every life is a biography, Trinidad and Tobago. Don't traffic drugs, it's not worth it.
Now is the time to rebuild. Make up your mind to climb the hill. It's reconstruction time in Trinidad, so put your shoulder to the wheel and lad, move on, don't stop till you reach the top. You put a hand and I put a hand and we will see. The big and go small in no time at all. Prosperity. There's no other way to do it. Show your patriotic spirit, unity. Sound if Trinidad ever needed you, listen now.
Thank you for staying with us, and thank you for those of you joining us online on YouTube and Facebook, and as well on radio on I-95.5. We are sharing with you some very warm feelings and sentiments on this eve of our 59th independence in Trinidad and Tobago, and we are celebrating in a way that we are accustomed to having a parade, and in to fill that gap, we have collaborated with various arms of the protective service to put on this display for you this evening. So
yes, and we will have a display in the absence of a firework display. The Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service will have a display this evening.
Yes.
So stand by for that. But without further ado, let's go to the Honorable Minister Fitzgerald Hines as he brings greetings to you on behalf of the Ministry of National Security.
Beautiful and resilient citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, on the occasion of our 59th anniversary of our attaining independent status, I offer you best wishes from the Ministry of National Security and indeed on my own behalf. August the 31st of this year marks the second consecutive year that we have had to forego our traditional Independence Day celebration, including our proud military parade due to the unprecedented challenges of the COVID-19 virus and its variants. It is my sincere hope that the coming year will herald a return to the customary splendid parade of our nation's defense and protective services, which we undoubtedly all enjoy as the main feature of our country's Independence Day celebrations. The Ministry of National Security has quite naturally and traditionally had direct responsibility for coordinating this grand national event. We heartily look forward to bringing the pomp and splendor of the occasion back on our national agenda as soon as the circumstances permit. Independence is the most significant step in the growth and development of a nation. From a national security perspective, the Ministry of National Security under its previous incarnation as the Ministry of Home Affairs, was assigned the important responsibility to ensure that certain fundamental administrative requirements for the granting of independence in 1962 were all achieved. In this regard, the ministry established the nation's first infantry to deter external aggression, as well as a maritime force to complement the already existing police marine branch resources. From then to now, the Ministry of National Security's various agencies continue to proudly defend, protect, and uphold the honor and dignity of our independent nation, and do so with great pride. In these uncertain times of a global health pandemic, our national security personnel demonstrate a great resilience, serving our nation and people with great dedication, and do so tirelessly in order to make this country safer and more secure for all of us. Most of their work completely out of the public gaze. For their undisputable dedication, commitment, and service, we must all offer them due praise for the critical role they play in maintaining the dignity and sovereignty of this nation. After 59 years as an independent nation, Trinidad and Tobago is today a modern, thriving democracy where all citizens enjoy fundamental rights and freedoms. All citizens enjoy the protection of the law. Ours is a progressive society where all have opportunities for personal, community, and national development. Ours is a land where we boast of a cohesive relationship of dynamic diversity and a respected member of the global community of nations. May the love and unity we share as one people provide us with the fortitude to overcome all of our challenges. Let us, as citizens of this nation, reflect deeply on the work and efforts of our founding fathers, led, of course, by Dr. Eric Eustace Williams, our nation's first Prime Minister, as they worked in shaping the tenets of our democracy and paving the way for progress and peace as a nation. Happy 59th Independence to you all, and God bless our nation. I thank you.
The Honorable Fitzgerald Hines. Thank you very much, Minister, for your message, and I'm sure it was well received by all listening and viewing here this evening on our independency. And we are about to start the parade. So, you servicemen and some of you who took part in the parade that year, you're getting a chance to see yourself now. And then in the interest of time, we had to bring it down. So the parade will start from Her Excellency making her entrance, because as you know, we have a time limit here. However, on Independence Day, we'll release the entire video on our Facebook page, so you can go there and see it, the entire parade there, in everything else, the march on from the march on and preparation and all of that. But without further ado, Natasha.
The Independence Day Parade from 2019. This was the last time we had a parade in Trinidad and Tobago. So
let's go to it.
Enjoy.
Arrival of Her Excellency, and it will end with the departure of Her Excellency. But everything that happened in between, you will see it now. Let's go to that.
And here we have the mounted branch escorting Her Excellency, and she makes her way to the parade square.
Trinidad and Tobago Television. They provided us with the footage, and we thank them for it. Let's go.
The Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, a mounted branch.
And this is an aspect that has been part of broadcast.
Yes.
Including the particular carriage which is carrying the president.
Yes.
It harkens back to a different time, doesn't it?
It goes all the way back to our early independence days, because actually the entire parade was done by the officials on horseback. It was mounted. Right? And His Excellency Sir Ellis Clark, he started with a vehicle for the parade. Maybe it was easier for him to do the inspection of the parade that way. And ever since, that tradition continued.
Ladies and gentlemen, please stand for the arrival of Her
And this would be
Excellency.
the original vehicle that was used by His Excellency Sir Ellis Clark.
President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago and the Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces.
So, Excellency, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces, President Paula May Weeks, makes her way to the parade square, led by the mounted branch. Accompanying her is the Chief of Defense Staff, Air Commodore Daryl Daniel. And she's getting into position right now.
And at the front of her escort, there were two women officers aboard the motorcycle, so which was entirely appropriate.
National anthem about to be played.
At this time, the national anthem of Trinidad and Tobago will be played.
If you're just joining us, folks, and you're just putting on your radio and want to know what it is going on, we are just featuring the Independence Parade from 2019. Appreciate just to mark our independence. Right? You'll get a chance now to see the parade in its glory if you join us on Facebook or YouTube. Courtesy Trinidad and Tobago TDT. Stay tuned. And you'll hear Mr. PJ Ramfal's voice in the background, and also we'll get that other individual who sat with him. All right, but let's go to the parade now.
So Captain Archer just paid compliments. So before he speaks to Her Excellency, he pays compliments by giving a salute and then requests Her Excellency to inspect the parade. So he has just done so, and he turns, and Her Excellency will start inspecting under the musical accompaniment of the band. And here we go. So at this time, the troops are all stood at attention. And Her Excellency will inspect the front and rear halves of the parade.
So the parade commander, as you hear, is Captain Archer and Major David Benjamin. Also on during the commentary is Major Jermaine Rushford. alongside Fidia Ramfal. So let's go back to the parade. They're about to, the parade was just handed over, so they're about to do the normal march past in quick time. Or the Her Excellency is now reviewing the parade.
This being her second
Now,
Independence
I remember doing
Day
this broadcast
parade,
at the
I'm sure
Savannah
she'll
one time
enjoy it.
when deceased
As she goes along to
Joe Ball,
Westwood along
Victor
the
Young,
parade
as you know him,
to now
told me that
inspect the front half of the
he sent a
parade.
message to me via WhatsApp and he said
Inspections are a
dignitaries
routine
don't really
part of
inspect
any
parades, they
military
review the
exercise
parade.
or operation.
The inspection
This
is
is a
done
symbol
before by
of what
the
is done before
parade
any
sergeant
type of
major and all
operation,
of these
the
things, but
inspection.
what they like the president and others do, they will review the parade. So that's what Her Excellency is doing now.
Her Excellency, accompanied by the Chief of Defense Staff, Air Commodore Garth Daniel. The Chief of Defense Staff, Air Commodore Daniel, is the second generation career military officer and is the first individual in the history of Trinidad and Tobago's defense force to hold the rank of Air Commodore.
You're watching the inspection by the President of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago. And the vehicle, as you would with any vehicle occupied by the President, has the coat of arms as on the license plate.
Yes, and this vehicle is specifically for Her Excellency for parades. It's the only time the vehicle actually comes out of safekeeping, as we say. Especially prepared for Her Excellency for the parade. So this vehicle is actually smiling now. It's getting to see the outside.
I'd imagine there's not much mileage on it.
The Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force was established in September 1960.
Her Excellency now comes towards the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service.
And today's broadcast is also being carried on Talk City 91.1 FM. Thank you so much for joining us today.
And as she goes around the Trinidad and Tobago, it's like the Milat candidates. Now coming to the unarmed detachments to continue the inspection.
It's a very significant aspect of military-style parade, the inspection of the troops.
It is. Yes, it all forms part of the routine. Whenever you're preparing for any sort of operation, there's an inspection to ensure all personnel are ready for the operation. So what we're seeing here is what's called a ceremonial inspection taking place.
A lesson really for anyone who has anything important to do, make sure you have everything you need to get the task done.
Correct. And so it's the same thing here. As Your Excellency now heads west along the parade square, inspecting the rear half, still led by a member of the mounted branch, guiding the way, and also being escorted by the parade commander, Captain Douglas Archer, and his aide, Major Benjamin.
Major Benjamin, of course, well-known name in sport in Trinidad and Tobago.
Yes. He's also the director of the Special Youth Services program.
Former director of UNISPEC. Also, he would have done a lot of great work there. And also has been one of those who's very involved in physical education, especially for those with disabilities. He specializes in that. And an avid golfer, I might guess.
Also accompanying Her Excellency is Major Mohammed, She is the aide to Her Excellency, the aide de camp.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency. That's what's happening right now. We're actually featuring a parade for you from 2019. And Her Excellency Paula Marie is now reviewing the parade to go back to position for the march past in quick time. So if you still have time, because we have of course that display by the horses and the dogs and so on. And I didn't even know Acting Commissioner Stephen Williams at the time led that dressage, as they call it, with the horses. Never knew that. Again, is when you're actually on the broadcast point, you don't really hear these things, and we didn't get that information. But so you still have time to pull up YouTube or Facebook and see the parade that happened then. You're not going to have a parade this year, so we might as well. So thank you very much for joining us. And remember, coming up at 8:30 on TV6, we have Darian Marcel's episode on Iron Health. All right, so let's go back to the parade.
I think we can say she is reasonably pleased with what she says.
The inspection has just been finished, and the parade commander will now request of Her Excellency to carry on with the rest of the parade.
Months of preparation. This is what the troops look forward to.
Yes. It also requires some level of physical fitness as well, because
That's right.
The route march may look on the outside enjoyable, but as you get into it, it really takes a toll on you. So it takes one to ensure that he or she is properly prepared, physically fit to be in these parades. And here we have the number 1 detachment led by the Trinidad and Tobago Regiment as we begin the march past here on the 57th Independence Parade at the Queen's Park Savannah. The color party, presidential color, number 1 1st Infantry Battalion color. We have the number 2 detachment led by Captain McIntyre.
Trinidad and Tobago Regiment, of course, is one of the larger military forces in the region. Has been used in peacekeeping and humanitarian situations from the Caribbean region.
Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard are now in picture as they come around to head east along the parade square. In your picture of the Trinidad and Tobago Regiment, their number 1 ceremonial dress. As they go past Her Excellency, they will now give an eyes right as they pay compliments to Her Excellency as they go past.
Ladies and gentlemen, shall we put our hands together for the International Trinidad and Tobago?
The color party now passes Her Excellency. And here we have the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard and the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard color as they approach Her Excellency. So all detachments as they pass Her Excellency will give an eyes right and pay compliments to Her Excellency and continue with the parade. In view right now are the Trinidad and Tobago Air Guard. Well, the Coast Guard now, as they approach, Your Excellency.
Coast Guard formed back in 1962, located at Staubles Bay, designated as the new home of the TNT Coast Guard Marine Police vessels. Well, trivia for you here. The Commander Ellie Peyton Jones was the man who assumed command of the TNT Coast Guard for the first time, 27th August 1962. That was the first commissioning ceremony at Staubles Bay.
Yes. In front of us, we have the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard, led by Lieutenant C. Diaz, and the number 4 detachment, led by Lieutenant J. Straker. And right now, we have the Trinidad and Tobago Air Guard in front of us, number 5 detachment, and the Air Guard color, carried by Pilot Officer A. Findley. Trinidad and Tobago Air Guard, by Lieutenant M. Charles and Pilot Officer Amoy Joy Daniel.
The most recent aspect of the regiment formed back in 2005. The Air Guard, of course, is located at Piarco International Airport. And that's on the side of the old airport.
If you're just joining us, you're listening to Dependency, and you're watching, if you can get a chance, to see the last Independence Parade 2019. In light of not having a parade this year, we just decided to treat you with this. For those of you who love to see, our troops in all their splendor on that day. So we are just treating you with that this evening. Remember, coming up, we have a display again from the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service, and of course, more education on the national flag this time. And then we go out with a performance by the Trinidad and Tobago Regiment Defense Force Steel Orchestra when they visited Germany and really had the audience jumping. So more to come. We now have fire service on screen here. As you know, fire service always a hit on Independence Day, Natasha.
Indeed. And if I am an unbiased observer, I would say they drill the best too on this occasion.
Yeah.
But that's just my personal opinion.
No, they did. I mean, the arms was on point. They were on point. Yeah, the women and men on the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service look really hot. And I'm not fooling you, they look hot. And so folks, you too on YouTube, could drop your comments, or on Facebook, tell us what you think. They really looked well. All right, so thank you very much for joining us, and happy Independence Day, everyone. This is our gift to you here this evening.
Have a naval cadet branch and also an air cadet branch, so they're really expanding the cadet force.
First detachment of the Alarm Detachment is the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service.
We have Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service. Mr. Wendell Williamson leads the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service first detachment. He's the divisional fire officer, followed by the fire color, acting fire officer Cleve Cummings leads the fire color. And we have the Assistant Divisional Fire Officer, Joan Hospitalis, leads the Women Detachment of the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service as they pass to excellency.
Yeah. Interestingly, the fire service is actually part of the police service until 1951. Somewhere in the region of 3,000 members serving at all ranks at this time.
The prison service now comes before Her Excellency, and they are led by Superintendent of Prisons, Weda Eastman.
Historic moment, as we mentioned, for the prison service earlier, the first time the consecrated flag making its appearance here at the Queen's Park Savannah for the parade.
Prison service is led by Superintendent of Prisons, Lutz
And we now have the prison service women's detachment, and they are led by Superintendent of Prisons Lourdes Obino Jacob and Assistant Superintendent of Prisons Randolph Orozco. The Special Police Detachment are now coming past to excellency, and they are led by Assistant Superintendent of Police Ian Edwards.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for the Trinidad and Tobago Red Cross Society detachments. They are led by Ms. Patsy Randall and Garth.
On screen, we have the Trinidad and Tobago Municipal Police Department, led by Assistant Superintendent Dunstan Wren.
They perform an important function in the various municipalities across Trinidad and Tobago.
And on screen, we just had a shot of the traffic wardens. Now we have the municipal police, but they are followed by the traffic wardens. Traffic wardens are now have just paid compliments to Her Excellency, and they are followed by the MILAT, Military-Led Academic Training Program cadets, led by Warrant Officer Class 2 K. Eiffel. Looking very smart in their tunics.
Wildlife program was developed to help trainees develop positive character, among other things, learn and enhance their vocational and military-based training skills, and attain an academic certificate.
Yes, folks, thank you very much for joining us. Thank you, Miss Rowley, Real Rowley, and your grandsons for viewing the parade this evening. I appreciate that. Bomber, welcome to my brother. And thank you all you Annette and everybody else who continue to lend us your support and best wishes. Thank you so much. If you're just joining us, you're actually listening to Independency, but we have our Independence special for you this evening. Right now, we are showing you the parade from 2019. The last time we had an Independence parade in Trinidad and Tobago here. So you know what we have to do so we can go back to that, return to that, because next year is our 60th anniversary of independence. We must have a parade. You all know what is required. So thank you very, very, very much for joining us this evening. And you can still catch, we have the mechanized infantry to come still. And also that display from that vintage display from the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service. So you're listening to Independency, and thank you once again. Here we come to the dog section now to do their little display. K9.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. The K9 unit of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service.
The officer in charge is Sergeant Donovan of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service K9 Division.
They also form a very important part of crime detection, especially at the airports.
That's correct. And in other areas of security as well.
That's right.
These dogs are specially trained for narcotics, to search for cadavers, as in bodies, for security purposes, explosives, and a wide area of security. Dogs and handlers so trained.
And the handlers and the dogs themselves, they form a very special bond. We've seen instances, I'm sure you've seen them also,
yes,
of dogs actually mourning the loss of their handlers, especially in a military setting.
Yes, yes. And the dogs are trained to protect their handlers, just as the handlers are trained to take care of the dogs. Very good display by the K9 Division of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, as they pay compliment to Her Excellency and they make their way back to their position on the parade.
When man's best friend becomes man's greatest protector.
You know, Natasha, this is give a lot of youngsters encouragement to go sign up for some arm of the protective service.
Yes, I was saying that to you this week, that, you know, when you see the fire officers especially, who look so resplendent in their
And
the dress
you should know that
uniforms. I mean, that is
simultaneously the
incentive
parade is
enough.
taking
But
place in
again,
Tobago.
as you
It's
say,
just
yes,
a
it is
half-hour delay
definitely a
in the
display
proceedings
of
across there.
of
They will also have a
of
similar
great
format.
pride.
Yeah,
That that
I
that is
remember my grandfather every year would come pick me up at home. We come the night before, he pressed my white shirt and black pants and
It's
put the
important that the
shoes and everything
communities
and head for the savannah
capabilities of
every year.
security services,
You know, I remember that as a
youth
youngster, and
services,
I've always
all the
been
divisions of the parade
fascinated by
basically a display
the
of
looking at this
patriotism
parade
and what
and
we have
hoping
to
to be
offer
part
as
of
a
it one
nation.
day. And there I was in 1982, a part of it. It was, and one thing I always remember about the Independence Parade, my memory of the Independence Parade is actually on the parade. And as I said, just before I said, I want to say hello to the members
You
of the
now have
band,
the drive
especially as
pass
Jacob was
first
just telling me. He said
prior
the
to the
hardest
fly
working
pass. So the
people
drive
on the
pass is now
Independence Parade
taking
is the
place.
band. The amount of work that they have to do, you know, from start to finish, you know, and keep everybody moving is really
So
hard
before
work,
us
I
right
can
now, we
imagine. So
have the
special mention must go out to
mechanized
the
access
prison
of the
and
Trinidad and
the
Tobago regiment,
police band, the regiment
starting off
band,
first with
and
the
because it's a combination of
motorcycles,
both, I think they put
part of
together
our dispatch
from
riders,
and
Trinidad and
so
Tobago
directed
Defense
by Major
Force,
Francis. But as I was saying,
motorized assets.
my memory, and here
Before us
comes the
right now, we have
mechanized infantry now, starting with the
other motorized assets coming
police
along.
service,
We
of
have
course, the
the
defense force, of course,
troop
outriders.
carriers,
And
7-ton trucks.
when the formation I was in,
So on
when
view
they
right now,
reach
we have our dispatch
head down
riders,
Frederick Street and make
and
a
they are
right,
used for
right wheel and Park Street.
recce's. We
And
have
when we
delivery of
straighten,
important documents,
I remember
and they are
deceased
led by our
Sergeant
mechanical
Joseph giving
transport
the
officer,
chain
Lieutenant
arms on the
Fletcher.
march.
He takes the
I
salute.
remember that up to this day.
We just have on
Because
display
the change arms on the march
combat
requires
vehicles,
movement with the rifle from one side to the
which are
next.
used for security
But there are drills to carry
operations.
that out. Man, and if you hear how that sounded between those two buildings, T and Tech, and yeah, those high walls, I will never ever forget that. Because the band, the
Because you have
band
a
was in the
troop
back,
carrier,
so we
7-ton
was
troop
hardly hearing
carrier.
it. So when he said change arms, you have to be there to
And these are
understand.
vehicles that are
Trust me.
commercially
It's something
available.
I never
However,
forget
they are
ever.
upgraded
You
for
know,
military
the sound of the
purposes.
hands hitting the rifle, the stock and the magazine and the
Engineer
same time
battalion,
shifting
yes,
from one
yes,
side
yes,
to the
those
next.
vehicles specially prepared.
It's a
Yes, I
sound
must
to
say
behold.
so.
So if you're just joining us, thank you very
Yes,
much.
we
You're
have our
listening to
heavy
Independency, but we are looking
dump
at
trucks.
a rerun of the Independence Parade 2019, courtesy State Media, Trinidad and Tobago Television. And we just felt we give you that little
So
treat this
all of
evening
these
as we have no
equipment
parade
assist
this
with
year. To view
not
the
only
entire parade,
community
we'll have it
development,
again on our Facebook page
construction,
on
we also deal with
Independence
humanitarian and
Parade.
disaster
I think
relief
Steve can do
efforts,
the same thing. So let's go back,
regionally
hear what the
and the
commentary is
local.
like. Now we go back to the transport.
To the Trinidad and Tobago Regiment,
Let's go back
Trinidad and
to
Tobago
it.
Defense Force assists communities with construction, with rehabilitation after disasters such as flooding, earthquakes.
The earthquake in Haiti 2010, many of the members of the Defense Force would have gone and they've been part of that humanitarian effort in Haiti. Would they?
Some of the fleet of vehicles from the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard. Leading the parade for the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard is 5800 Chief Petty Officer Devon Felix. He is the Chief Petty Officer in charge of the transport department.
The motorized assets of the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard now take the salute as they pass the Excellency. Noting that the Coast Guard is a naval institution, these are just the motorized assets. So you will not see a ship passing through here.
We are going to see a boat.
We are going to see a boat being
You
towed.
will see one.
Yes, you're going to see a boat.
And of course, the Coast Guard, the major role, of course, the surveillance of the waters on the T&D. Oh,
And here we have the fly pass.
Wow. There they go.
Here we have the fly pass
Also on parade this morning,
of
we have Trinidad
a Cessna aircraft.
Coast Guard Interceptor, Edgewater Interceptor. This vessel is used for search and rescue
Just
operations,
came during the drive past. So
protection, and many
there it
of the roles
goes.
of the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard plays
Seeing the fly
the
pass.
sovereign good of the Republic.
The Edgewater Interceptor, I'm told this
Ladies and
is.
gentlemen, the Trinidad and the Tobago Coast Guard.
And the Coast Guard, very, very innovative to have the boat actually passing on the drive pass.
Following the Trinidad and Tobago Coast Guard is the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service.
And the Trinidad Police Service, to the applause of the crowd, because we have the outriders from the traffic branch now coming towards Excellency to give their salute. And they're also doing a bit of acrobatics.
Yeah, they certainly are forming that pyramid formation. And of course, these cycles you may have seen in the news provided by the government of the People's Republic of China. And in preparation for that, 12 officers from the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service would have gone across to China and spent
transport officer for the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service,
preparing not only on how to pilot the vehicles, if you want to put it that way, but also how to maintain them.
Yes, that's very important. We have some more aerial assets. This is from the Ministry of National Security. So we have simultaneously our fly past and drive past occurring, much to the delight of the crowd. More assets from the Ministry of National Security, forming the fly past. And again, coming in from the west, we have another helicopter.
Bringing up the rear of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service.
While the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service drive past is occurring, we also have, I really love us to see this right now, on parade there is the drone division of Trinidad and Tobago Police Service, if we could see that quickly, as the helicopter sort of takes center stage right now. There it goes. If we can get that drone mobile asset that is going ahead on the eastern side of the drive pass right now, just about to make its way off the parade square. So, follow the police service is the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service. Their outriders are now coming onto the parade square.
Approaching from the western side of the parade square this morning, we have the fleet of vehicles from the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service. They are led by 2078 Divisional Fire Officer George Warren. On the ceremony of
Divisional Fire Officer George Warren is now the Mechanical Transport Officer of the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service, and he leads the drive past. And I see some, well, I hope they are police drones or national security.
In fact,
I trust that they should be.
Just under them, there are some, this is on the western side, just outside of your picture, there are military officers controlling them.
Oh, yes,
so
they are
very much.
Yeah, so those are the drones of the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service Division, and they are doing quite well in documenting the parade as the drive past goes, of the fire service goes past Her Excellency. You see vehicles of the fire service. The emergency tenders. And also special utility vehicles that are used at our airport as well. They're all on parade and really bring some color, some extra color to the parade as well.
Certainly do. Fire service 9 ranks from firefighter to chief officer. And they've had a remarkable, they certainly have had a remarkable record in terms of their record in terms from 1951 to present. Only 12 professional firefighters have died in the line of active duty. And that, of course, would have included that the tragedy in 1988 at Camp Omega.
Camp Omega,
and,
yes.
4 firefighters would have lost their lives.
Yeah. They were at the time actually trying to manage a bushfire that was taking place at the time, and unfortunately we had that explosion.
Of course, I'm sure the history buffs listening and watching this broadcast would want to check on that. It's certainly one of the was a very widely followed in the media event at that time. Of course, one of the firefighters, one of the celebrities, if you want to put it in terms of firefighters, Caleb.
Thank you very much, folks. You're listening to Independency, of course. You're not playing tricks on you, but thank you very much, Junior Williams, for joining us too. Happy Independence to you too.
Yes, ma'am.
And we are just giving you a treat this evening, folks.
So
If
just
you're
gonna
just
be
joining
the
us,
fire
you're listening
service
to
search and
Independency.
rescue
We are
team,
just
land
doing a recap of 2019 Independence Day
search and
parade,
rescue team,
and from the savannah,
and they
that
also
is,
have
and
a small boat which
we are
symbolizes
just
search and rescue
what we
capabilities
see
in
now
our
is
rivers
the
as well.
mechanized infantry doing their display, and
Fire service recovery vehicle.
from that we will have the
So the fire
dressage,
service have
and
just
then
completed
we
their
will
drive
have
past,
Her
and we now
Excellency
have
take a
the
departure,
motorized units
and
of the Trinidad and Tobago
that will be our gift to you
Prisons Service.
for independence,
And
which
stay
is
tuned for some special display after this break.
yes. Of course, we have some information for you on the national flag, and then TNT Fire Service will do their vintage display, and we go out with the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force Steel Orchestra when they performed out there in Germany. That was a real enjoyable thing to see. So once again, happy independence to all of you, and for us to have a parade next year, which is our 60th anniversary, we must have, you all know what we need to do. All right,
well,
we do have to say it. Otherwise, we would not have a parade, and that would be very sad for us not to have a parade at our 60th anniversary of independence.
Yes, 'cause one of us knows what being 60s feels like. Right? Anyway, enjoy the parade.
More access of the Trinidad and Tobago Prison
really?
Service vehicles for
You just put
transporting
nobody dog
officers
section.
as well
I just let people know, folks, that we used to call it in the
K9
military, right?
unit. You're too
Right.
disrespectful.
No,
K9
in the
unit.
military call it the war dogs.
Okay, but they are police dogs. They're police officers. I think
and
they
we
are
have the
actually
prisoner
Right,
transportation
Right,
yeah,
it's okay,
individual.
right now.
9 units.
So with army,
As they
we had the
make their way
piggery,
east
we had
along
the
the
war
parade
dogs,
square.
and so on. Right? So
Right,
it was an
finish
honest
off now.
mistake. Finish off. All right, folks. All right, so
Enjoy the rest of the parade.
enjoy the rest of the
Cross,
parade, folks. You can join us on
little fact
YouTube or
here for
Facebook
you.
if you want to
Do
see.
you know that
Thank you.
Hartscut is named after a prison officer? Hartscut, in fact, in Chagarama, yes, named after the prison principal officer, Daniel Hart, who had cut a channel through the neck of Point Gore, that's the peninsula there, to allow the labor of convicts, to allow small boats to pass through from Crown Arch to Chagarama's Bay. Of course, it's quite a large
area on
area
that side. Yes.
Yeah, so,
And that area is now a Coast Guard installation.
that's right. TNT Red Cross Society.
Red Cross Society. And before them would have been the St. John's Ambulance Brigade. So we have both the St. John's Ambulance and the Red Cross Society now completing their drive past east on the parade square. Acting Superintendent of Police Stephen Williams. He's leading the mountain branch and the mounted branch display. Here we go.
So what we have now is acting at the time Commissioner of Police Stephen Williams leading the dressage, the display by the horses. You know, that's part of the celebration. So that's what we have now going on.
You're gonna say the whole section.
And
The mounted branch.
if you hear someone in the background, that is Natasha. But I say happy independence to you folks.
So
Listeners, thank
short
you very
pass.
much. As you see, the 2IC gave us some trouble
Does it
this
come
evening,
before
but
Excellency?
okay, we can deal with that.
Give an eyes right.
And coming up after this, we will have that display
Now
from the
continue
Trinidad and
with their
Tobago
display.
Fire Service.
some of the horses in the past actually were race horses, thoroughbreds, which were used for racing. The names are, of course, changed.
Oh, yes,
when
yes.
they come into the service itself.
Well executed display by the mounted branch, and it shows the control that one must have as an equestrian. Beautiful.
Of course, when you go back in history, in the history of warfare, when horses first appeared on the battlefield, initially the soldiers were mistaken for some type of mythical beast as they appeared on horseback, and they provoked great fear among those who had never seen horses in battle.
Well, in Greece and in those areas back in the days, you'd have used elephants. So horses have not been as ferocious as the elephants. But yes. With respect to warfare, the horses would have added mobility and speed, you know. Another well-coordinated display by the mounted branch.
It's a real challenge for the officers, controlling the horses with one hand while holding the lance in the other.
Correct. It's training, a lot of balance, and also one must keep calm because you must keep your horses calm as well. Another aspect of the parade is the firing of the 21 gun salute, and this happens during the national anthem, which is about to be played, and at the same time you must keep your horses calm during this period. So the parade commander will now advance the parade in review order. They march forward 14 paces, halt, followed by our national anthem.
Right, so what we have now, folks, is the 21 gun salute. You know, that's a customary thing on Independence morning as well, as part of the ceremony at the manner. And you can see those explosives being discharged. And I'm sure it's the first time a lot of you would have seen it, because all you will hear is the sound. You really don't know where it comes from, but this is what happened on that morning at the 21 gun salute. Thank you once again, and happy Independence to all of you. We have that vintage display coming up for you afterwards from the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service.
21 gun salute here at the Queen's Park, Savannah. Also, there was a playing of the national anthem.
.21 gun salute being the highest form of compliments to be paid rather, in any ceremonial occasion. At this time, the parade commander will request of Her Excellency to carry on with the rest of the parade into the route march, and we see the mounted branch making their way into position to escort Her Excellency off of the parade.
And this is leading up to the departure of the President, Her Excellency Pauline Weeks.
And all the dignitaries will then follow in reverse order to which they came.
Just behind the flag, Fort George, another reminder of the military past of Trinidad and Tobago. Not that Fort George actually saw any action, that is.
But it was positioned just in case.
It was positioned just in case.
It just tells how the state of our world was in back then and where we are now. As you see the mounted branch escorting Her Excellency east of the parade square to the fanfare played by the massed bands.
Right, how you all doing out there? Thank you very much.
Queen's Park, Savannah, getting a generous
Especially
round of
Tobago,
applause
Mr. Barrow, thank you. I'm happy that you all enjoyed this. And of course, thank you, the Ministry of National Security, for allowing us to do this. And what we have now, Her Excellency is making her departure, which signals the end of this evening's proceedings with regard to the parade. Happy Independence Day from the Southwest Region Civilian Conservation Corps. May Almighty God bless our awesome nation. This is from Shastri Gobind Singh. Thank you very much, Shastri. And
recovered.
We hope you enjoyed this Independence Parade and brought to you thanks to Trinidad and Tobago television who provided the footage.
Yes.
And I know to many of you who are regulars at the Savannah and along the parade route, you would have missed, this excitement on Independence Day.
Yes.
So we are glad to share a little bit of it with you here this evening on our Independence Day.
yes, so thank you for being part of the audience. And this is history here. This will be in our archives forever. The fact that we had an Independence Parade on Independency and the people, all the people who took part. So let's go straight to that TNT fire service display now from then to now. Let's look at the fire service and where they came from. Did you look at it? Really nice, really interesting. And of course, the appropriate accompaniment. Rose, fire, fire.
Mucho caliente. I heard a voice like somebody crying. I just couldn't imagine what was happening. I saw this old lady running, calling out to she never ran. Sing, never, never, come on, God, the house on fire. In the air, she's fire. It's a fire. Oh, yeah, oh, ay, ay, ay. Fire, fire, ven acá, Pepito, dame mucho agua, picoso. Ven, amigo, fire. Stop holding me head. Well, I said tonight, Lord, like somebody dead. Before this old lady, she and we didn't know about day. I jump on the house and I start balling like a pretty mouth. And the air be fire, fire, it's a wire. Oh, yeah, oh, ay, ay, ay. Fire, fire, ven acá, Pepito, dame mucho agua. Yeah, fire. Okay. He came running, we took out the truck because we didn't see no smoke. She burning from Mother Ramsey, there is your ladder. Until you hold them, then for the water to hold the fire. Eating you see fire, fire, you see wire, wire. Oh, Lord, fire, fire, bang a car, the people down, they put you on a bar. It was so, hey, amigo, fire,
Right, folks, there you have it. And
So-
Sarah, that's a good question, about Stephen Williams. You
He
have me
wasn't the
thinking now.
commissioner of police. That Gary Griffith was the commissioner because we saw him in the footage. He was sitting in the stands, but Stephen Williams, being a police officer, proper member of the ranks, was still
That's a good question.
a police officer at the time. He wasn't commissioner,
Yes.
but he was still a police officer.
Right, folks. So before we leave you, hold on real quick. Before we leave you, we want to thank you all very much. This was a wonderful evening spent with you all.
Yep.
Shortman Q, the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force Steel Orchestra. To see where Pan reached, we had Pan in Germany, and
we leave you with that one.
yes, and
but-
Sobo was like a soca artist with his stick, riding up the crowd, man, and it was a pleasure to see. So once again, folks, we ask you all to, in order for us to have a 60th anniversary Independence Parade, we need to get this place cleaned up with this virus so that we could actually have this parade, because it'll be 60 years, and I think it's important for us to have it. So, Shortman, let's go with that Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force Steel Orchestra out there in Germany. Let's take a bit of that quickly. And to the sound of the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force Steel Orchestra out there in Germany doing a nice little display. Once again, we want to thank the Ministry of National Security, Minister Fitzgerald Hines, Irene Medina, Parvati Hazel, Absalom Israel from the Comms Unit from the Ministry of National Security, Trinidad and Tobago Armed Forces Veterans Association, third Independence Parade video courtesy Fufu Knox, National Youth Council, and also Major Benjamin, the Chief Fire Officer, Mr. Arnold Bristow, 8142 Auxiliary Fire Officer Leon Graves, Divisional Fire Officer Ansar Ali, and 3559 Firefighter Robert Burton from the PR and Welfare Research Section of the Trinidad and Tobago Fire Service. Commissioner of Prisons, Mr. Dennis Polchan, Prison Officer 2, Ms. Marissa Alexander of the Prisons Comms Unit, Sergeant Smith, producer of Joint Services Network on the YouTube channel, you saw it on the canons, Commissioner Police Acting Gary Griffith, Ms. Lisa Ghani, and the Police AV Unit, Coast Guard Drill Team, Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force Steel Orchestra, courtesy McKelly J, of course, and the the postcards will keep display that we courtesy the Mackenzie on YouTube. Of course, the TTDF Steel Orchestra, Independence Day Parade footage courtesy Trinidad and Tobago Television. Miss Shamila Thomas Ashby, thank you very much. To Shortman, and of course our MVP here, Natasha Noonan, for editing and scripting and putting all of this together. Folks, what a wonderful evening.
You gotta go, but again, enjoy this the regiment, Defense Force band here, playing itself in Germany and displaying what a wonderful people and music and instrument and spirit we have as Trinbagonians. So happy independence again to you.
Yes, my boy. So we're loving you in this video here, but with the mace. I truly did. You really enjoy yourself. All right. So folks, thanks again. It was a wonderful evening. Kerr has to go south, and we asked the police to escort Kerr home now if you ever see him on the road. But he's heading to San Fernando, and thank the station very much for giving us this opportunity as well. Good night to you all. Be safe out there. Please be safe out there.
Yes. Enjoy the holiday.
Enjoy the holiday. And remember, we must celebrate our 60th anniversary. Look sober now, man. Watch my boy. Ay, ay, ay. So good. So, Bo. All right, folks. So, and remember, coming up at 8:30, we have Darian Marcel on TV6 with his episode of course, him surviving cancer. And so we're dealing cancers in men this evening. All right. So, Shortman, once again, thank you. Kerr, thank you. And we leave you with the rest of the Trinidad and Tobago Defense Force Steel Orchestra. What's so, Bo?
Good night.
Good night. These team commanders, our regional managers, and all of you who joined us, thank you very much once again. God bless you all. Happy Independence. Stay safe. Good night, folks.
This is Reality